Before you skip this, listen to me for just 10 seconds. What if the only thing separating you from the life you want is not your talent, not your resources, not your past, but the way you move every single day? Right now, some of you are waiting for motivation, waiting for confidence, waiting for the right time, waiting for someone to believe in you. But winners don't wait for proof. They move first. And the proof follows. This message is for the person who feels stuck but knows they're meant for more, for the one who's tired of starting strong and fading out, for the one who's done playing small, done making excuses, done doubting their own potential. If you've ever felt behind in life, if you've ever watched others win and wondered when it will be your turn, if you've ever felt the fire inside you but didn't know how to turn it into action, stay with me till the end of this video, because what you're about to hear can shift how you see yourself, how you carry yourself, and how you move through every challenge in your life. By the end of this message, you won't just feel motivated, you'll feel different, you'll move different. And once you start moving like you've already won, your life will never move the same again. Identity before results means you decide who you are long before life gives you proof. Most people let circumstances tell them who they are. So when life is hard, they call themselves unlucky. When progress is slow, they label themselves average. And when failure shows up, they accept the identity of someone who is not meant to win. This way of thinking traps a person in a cycle where they wait for external success to feel powerful, confident, or worthy. But the truth is that results are always a reflection of identity, not the other way around. When you see yourself as disciplined, you naturally take disciplined actions. When you see yourself as focused, you choose focused behaviors. When you see yourself as a winner, your standards rise automatically, your tolerance for excuses drops, and your daily choices start aligning with growth instead of comfort. Identity before results is about mentally stepping into the role of the person you intend to become and letting that inner decision shape how you move through each day. A man who identifies as strong does not negotiate with weakness. A man who identifies as successful does not entertain habits that keep him stuck. And a man who identifies as unstoppable does not allow temporary setbacks to define his direction. The brain works hard to keep behavior consistent with self-image, so whatever label you place on yourself becomes the script your actions follow. If you label yourself as someone who struggles, you will subconsciously look for proof of struggle. If you label yourself as someone who grows, you will subconsciously seek opportunities to grow. This is why changing identity is more powerful than setting goals, because goals are something you try to reach, but identity is something you live from moment to moment. When identity shifts, discipline becomes natural, effort feels meaningful, and sacrifice feels purposeful rather than painful. You stop forcing yourself to do hard things and start seeing hard things as simply what a winner does. Identity before results is the internal agreement that you are already becoming the person you want to be, even when the outside world has not caught up yet. And this agreement quietly rewires how you think, how you react, and how you show up in every area of life. Decisions over doubt means choosing action before your mind finishes listing all the reasons you might fail. Doubt is natural and shows up whenever growth is near, but letting doubt sit in the driver's seat turns every opportunity into a debate and every step forward into hesitation. The longer you argue with your own mind, the more fear feels logical, and the more inaction feels safe, even though it quietly steals time, momentum, and self-respect. Powerful people understand that clarity is not something you wait for, it is something you earn by moving, because motion creates feedback and feedback creates confidence. Every decisive action trains the mind to trust itself, while every delayed decision trains the mind to question itself. When you consistently choose action, even imperfect action, you build a reputation with yourself that you are someone who follows through, and that reputation becomes emotional strength you can rely on during hard moments. Doubt often disguises itself as intelligence, pretending to protect you from embarrassment, rejection, or failure, but in reality it protects comfort and avoids growth. Decisions over doubt is the practice of honoring your intention more than your fear and choosing direction even when certainty is missing. The moment you decide, your nervous system shifts from scattered energy into focused energy, and your mind starts looking for solutions instead of excuses. This does not mean reckless behavior or blind leaps. It means refusing to let overthinking paralyze progress and refusing to let imagined outcomes control real possibilities. Strong decision-making creates inner authority, and inner authority creates presence, because people feel the difference between someone who is waiting for approval and someone who moves with self-trust. Each time you choose decisiveness, you weaken the habit of hesitation, and each time you hesitate, you strengthen the habit of self-doubt. Over time, these small choices compound into either a powerful identity built on courage or a fragile identity built on avoidance. Decisions over doubt is about choosing growth over comfort in the moment it matters, choosing movement over mental noise, and training yourself to respect your own choices so deeply that doubt loses its power to control your direction. Faith in action means belief that is strong enough to change behavior, not just thoughts or words. Many people say they believe in their goals, their future, or their potential, but their daily actions quietly reveal doubt, because true belief always expresses itself through movement. When belief is real, it creates urgency, consistency, and courage, and when belief is weak, it stays trapped in motivation that fades with mood and circumstances. Faith in action is choosing to show up on days when energy is low, choosing to prepare when no one is watching, and choosing to continue when progress feels slow or invisible. It is the inner decision to move forward without needing guarantees, applause, or perfect conditions, trusting that effort compounds even when results are delayed. This kind of belief changes how you interpret obstacles, because instead of seeing resistance as a signal to stop, you see it as proof that growth is happening, and instead of viewing uncertainty as danger, you see it as the natural space where transformation takes place. Faith in action also reshapes how you handle failure, because setbacks become information instead of identity, feedback instead of verdict, and lessons instead of labels. When belief is active, discipline feels purposeful rather than forced, and sacrifice feels meaningful rather than unfair, because you are no longer acting for short-term comfort but for long-term vision. The mind starts searching for ways to make things work instead of reasons why they might not, and this shift changes how opportunities are noticed, how risks are evaluated, and how challenges are faced. Faith in action builds inner stability because your confidence becomes rooted in effort rather than outcomes, meaning you feel grounded even when external results fluctuate. Over time, repeated action based on belief rewires your self-image, turning hope into proof through lived experience and strengthening the identity of someone who moves forward despite uncertainty, pressure, and fear. Burn the excuses means refusing to protect your comfort with stories that sound reasonable but keep you stuck. Excuses are rarely obvious lies. They are often polite explanations the mind creates to avoid discomfort, effort, or the risk of failure. And because they sound logical, they slowly become habits of thinking. When excuses become familiar, they start to shape identity, turning temporary obstacles into permanent limits and turning potential into postponed action. Burning excuses is an inner decision to stop negotiating with weakness and to stop giving fear a voice in your plans. It is the moment you realize that explanations do not build results, only consistent action does, and that every time you justify delay, you train yourself to delay again. Excuses also distort perception, because they make challenges feel heavier than they are and make small inconveniences feel like valid reasons to quit, creating an emotional comfort zone that feels safe but quietly shrinks your life. When you remove excuses, responsibility returns to you, and with responsibility comes power, because you can only change what you own. This shift changes how you speak to yourself, moving from narratives of limitation into language of choice, where obstacles become problems to solve instead of reasons to stop. Burning excuses does not mean ignoring real difficulties or pretending circumstances do not matter. It means refusing to let circumstances define your ceiling and refusing to let temporary conditions dictate permanent outcomes. It is choosing to work with what you have instead of waiting for what you think you need, choosing progress over perfect timing, and choosing effort over emotional comfort. As excuses lose their grip, discipline becomes simpler because there is less internal debate, and action becomes faster because the mind no longer pauses to protect its own comfort. This creates momentum, and momentum builds self-respect, because each time you act without excuses, you reinforce the identity of someone who takes responsibility for their direction, their effort, and their growth. Daily winning habits are the small, repeated actions that quietly shape identity, performance, and outcomes over time, even when they seem too simple to matter in the moment. Most people search for dramatic breakthroughs, but real transformation is built through ordinary behaviors done with consistency, because the nervous system, the mind, and the body adapt to what they experience daily. When you repeat winning behaviors, you normalize discipline, focus, and follow-through, and these traits become your default state rather than something you force only when motivation is high. Habits remove the emotional negotiation from action, meaning you do not need to feel inspired to move forward. You simply follow the routine you have trained yourself to respect. This is powerful because emotions fluctuate, but habits carry you forward even on low-energy days, creating stability and progress and protecting momentum from mood swings. Daily winning habits also compound psychologically because each completed action builds quiet proof that you are reliable to yourself, and this self-trust becomes a source of confidence that does not depend on praise or external validation. Over time, the brain associates these behaviors with identity, so effort feels natural instead of forced, and consistency feels normal instead of exceptional. This repetition trains focus by reducing distraction, trains resilience by normalizing effort, and trains patience by teaching the nervous system to value progress over instant reward. Small daily actions also reshape perception, because when you consistently invest in growth, you start noticing opportunities, resources, and solutions that align with your habits, while distractions lose their pull. The power of daily winning habits lies in their invisibility, because they work quietly in the background, strengthening discipline, sharpening awareness, and building emotional endurance without dramatic moments of change. As these habits accumulate, they create a rhythm of forward movement that carries you through resistance, fatigue, and doubt, shaping your identity into someone who moves consistently toward growth and improvement. Unshakable vision means holding a clear inner picture of where you are going that remains steady even when emotions fluctuate, circumstances shift, and results take time to appear. Most people allow their direction to be shaped by what they see in the moment, so when progress is slow, they question their path. When obstacles appear, they doubt their capacity, and when distractions offer comfort, they drift away from what truly matters. An unshakable vision anchors attention, giving the mind a stable reference point that organizes effort, priorities, and decisions around a long-term direction rather than short-term feelings. This inner picture is not fantasy or wishful thinking. It is a deliberate mental commitment that shapes how challenges are interpreted and how effort is sustained. When vision is strong, setbacks are seen as part of the process instead of signals to quit, and delays are understood as seasons of preparation rather than evidence of failure. This clarity protects focus because it reduces the pull of distractions that promise quick relief but lead away from long-term growth. An unshakable vision also regulates emotional energy, because when you know why you are moving forward, temporary discomfort feels meaningful instead of pointless, and discipline feels like alignment rather than sacrifice. Over time, repeatedly returning your attention to this vision trains the nervous system to tolerate uncertainty, because the mind learns that lack of immediate results does not mean lack of direction. This steadiness builds inner authority, making you less reactive to opinions, criticism, and comparisons, and more responsive to your own values and long-term intent. As vision stabilizes, decisions become simpler because they are measured against a clear direction, and effort becomes more sustainable because it is fueled by purpose rather than mood. This creates a grounded sense of momentum that continues even when external validation is absent, shaping a mindset that moves forward with patience, clarity, and quiet certainty. Today, you were reminded of something powerful. Winning is not an event, it is an identity. You don't wait for the world to change before you change the way you move. You decide who you are first, then you let your actions prove it. When you choose decisions over doubt, you stop letting fear run your future. When you put faith into action, your belief becomes visible in your discipline. When you burn excuses, you take back your power. When you build daily winning habits, you create unstoppable momentum. And when your vision becomes unshakable, no obstacle can shake your direction. The moment you start moving like the man who has already won, your standards rise, your energy shifts, and your life begins to align with that identity. From this point forward, you don't walk like someone waiting for permission. You walk like someone building destiny. Your future is shaped by what you repeatedly choose today, so choose strength, choose discipline, choose focus, and choose to move like victory is inevitable. Good luck on your journey. Stay strong when it gets hard. Stay focused when it gets noisy. And stay consistent when no one is watching. Thank you for watching, for believing in yourself, and for choosing growth today. If this message helped you even a little, carry it forward, live it out, and let your actions speak louder than your words.